Diane from Teach Pre-K, and it's July 5th today. For me, that just means I'm going to go to Target and see all the school supplies out. Everything's going to start turning into back to school, and we're going to kind of start to have to say goodbye to summer. Um, so I thought I would start before I can get into my classroom and show you some classroom things. I thought I would start by telling you guys what you might want to focus on the first 2 weeks. This is what I do, and I plan according to all of these things. So I think, especially for you new teachers, if you are thinking about, okay, I'm going to jump in, I'm going to do these counting lessons, and we're going to do colors, and I've got so many cute art projects planned, put the brakes on for a minute. And I want you to really think about what's going to be the most important thing those first 2 weeks. And I don't know if I'm going to get balloons by doing two. If I do two too many times, I'll end up with balloons like before. But the first thing I want you to think about is those first 2 weeks are critical times for relationship building. You need to build relationships with those kids so that they feel safe and loved and nurtured in your classroom. And you also have to facilitate relationship building a little bit amongst their peers. And one of the ways to do that is to have your welcome to school week the first week and then do an about me week. I followed that up with a friends and families week where we talk about how to be a good friend, we talk about our families, and we'll just find more similarities about each other. But you start your first week with that welcome to school, and you really stress your classroom routines, what's okay to do, what's not okay to do. I have shelves all over my room, and my kids learn that they can only play with the toys that are out. If they want to play with something on a shelf, they can come and ask me. I might say yes. Or if it's 5 minutes to clean up, I might say no. I'm going to always want to have less because that leads to less chaos. So that is why I have that rule. I don't close off the shelves. I don't remove the toys. They just know from the get-go, and they have daily reminders that they can't play with the toys on the shelf, only the toys that I put out. So that's one of the things that I teach them. That's part of our classroom rules and routines. But I really get them used to, like, we come in, we put our water bottle in this tray, which is right next to where I'm sitting. I watch them put their backpack away. If they don't have their water bottle, I'll say, "Did you bring a water bottle today?" They get their water bottle, they put it in the tray. Then I give them my greeting if they want a hug, if whatever they want from me, they're going to get. Some kids just plop themselves right on my lap. The next thing they do is they go put their name in the pocket chart. They can find their name because their photo's right next to it. So they find their face, it's right next to their name. It's a way I get those little 3s and 4s to start learning what their name looks like. They put it in a pocket chart. Then I have 3 tables set up with things for them to play with. I also have books that they know they can always go to, a magnet board and a little sequin board that they can just play with. It's a fun little sensory thing. But that is the routine of the morning, and I reinforce it every single day. So those first 2 weeks, it's every single day. Oh, do you have your water bottle? Here, put your water bottle in this tray. Now go find your name, put it in the pocket chart, and find a place to play. Every single day. And actually, that continues a little bit more on, but pretty soon they're like, we know, and they just are off and running on their own, and it's pretty awesome to see. They really get into what we're doing, and they want to see what we've put out to play with for that day. We will do a 1 minute warning, a cleanup time. After cleanup, I sing a song to get us to the rug. We get to the rug, we do our circle time routine, which, if you've watched some of my previous videos, when you start circle time, you are starting short. So, one thing that I will do is I'll really watch that beginning of the day kind of socializing playtime. I'll visit every table, try to talk to every child. There's that relationship building part there. We ask lots of questions. What did you have for breakfast? Oh, do you have a dog? What's your dog's name? And I try to remember as much as I can. So then the next day I can say, how's your dog Fiona? Was Fiona being silly today? Did you have jam on toast again this morning? But that signals to them that they are important to me, and I'm remembering facts about them, and that makes them feel important, and they know I care about them and love them, because I sincerely do. There's nothing fake about it. So back to that short circle time, I will extend that little free play time unless I see that kids are starting to wander, and then I know, okay, it's time. I've got to cut this right here and get us to the rug and move on to something else. So we'll do our short circle time, and I'll really pay attention to how everyone is on the rug, what everybody's individual stamina is like, what they are enjoying, what they are not enjoying. And then at the beginning of the year, the first 2 weeks, we break them into small groups and we visit our free choice centers with our whole small group. And now, if I'm with 3 or 4 year olds, I've got to ask, does anybody need to go to the bathroom? And I will take my whole group to the bathroom. They'll do, I'll show them where the potties are. We've got 2 potties, a little potty, a big potty. I'll show them where the stool is to stand up and wash your hands at the sink, how to get the soap, how to get a paper towel, where the paper towels go when you're done. So I work that in to those daily routines too. And we go over it and over it and over it. Never assume your kids know anything. Really think that they're coming to you as a blank slate. And the reason why I will split us up, and there's 2 days a week I have 2 aides, and 2 days a week I have 3. So some days I'll have a smaller group, but we start and we spend a little time at the book center, and I show them how we use a book, how we can share a book with a friend, because books are really easy to share, where you can sit when you want to read a book. And that, a lot of times teachers will be able to read you a book, and sometimes they won't if they're busy with another group of kids. Then we move to the block table, the dramatic play, the writing center, the sensory center, and we just kind of rotate through that. And as we do, I am teaching them what we do when we go to that center, how we use the toys, what is okay and what's not okay. We can never knock down somebody's tower. My first week of school, I just do a really simple, like, home in my home center with just some dishes and maybe some play food. I might add some things one day and subtract some things another day so they have a little variety. But I will change my block center every single day. And I will focus on something different at the writing center every day that week too. So it might seem like it's a little more work, and it is, but it's well worth it, because if I can teach them how to play with the wood blocks, the train tracks, the magnetiles, and the Legos all in 1 week, and they can get those rules, when I put them out again, I'm not going to have to do as much work. So that is how I prefer to do it. I also have a necklace system at my centers. I only have 11 in my preschool class, so I'm not going to start them out with the necklaces, because it's just one more added thing for them to do, and they can kind of get overwhelmed with being in school. So I try to keep everything short and simple. My pre-K, I will show them my necklaces and show them how we do them. And if there's 4 necklaces at the block table, when you want to play at the block table, there has to be a necklace for you. So how many people can play at the block table? 4. And it's that way for all of my centers. If I've had 18 kids before, I have to make sure that I even put toys out on other tables to give them something more to do if I have, not as many necklaces as I do kids, because it's just going to cause frustration. Even though some kids will be at teacher led centers for part of that time, there comes a point where everyone's done and we've got to, let them play for a minute, clean up. Teachers are gathering up materials, whatever. Um, so we're learning those rules and procedures. We practice how we line up. We talk about how we're going to play on the playground. We talk about how we're going to line up out on the playground. I have a whistle. I tell them I will blow my whistle, and that's your signal that we need to line up right next to the bushes by the gate. And they see right where that is. Like when I get them up there, I'll say, this is the gate. These are the bushes where we line up, and they go play, they go play, they go play. And they're going to need a lot of help. They're going to need a lot of help. They're not going to have it the first day, the second day, maybe not even the first week. Midway through the second week, they're going to really start rolling and really start understanding what we're supposed to do. Then before we walk into the school, again, I tell them, we're going to go sit on the rug and we're going to wait for everyone to get there, and then we'll have further instructions. And I'll either read another short book. I teach at a Catholic school, so we say prayer, get hand sanitizer, and have our snack to end our day. If we have a few minutes at the end of the day, I might pull some puzzles out on the rug or put a cute little educational video on the smartboard for them, because they're pretty exhausted and just need some quiet play before their parents come and pick them up or before we get ready to go to extended day. So there's a ton of reminders for every single thing we do. And those first 2 weeks, I tried my best to use the exact same words every day for every transition. And I will remind them short reminders of the rules for those free centers once I set them free and I'm not making them go in a teacher-led group. We will do the teacher-led groups through the free centers for maybe 2 days of the 4 or maybe 3 of the 4. And then we slowly have one teacher supervise the free centers and one teacher do a small group center at one of the tables. And this is where we start teaching them how to use those supplies. And that first week, we'll do some whole group things at the table, like using a glue stick or practicing with markers or crayons or scissors or whatever, if we have time to do that. I kind of feel where the kids are before I make those decisions, and learning how to use materials in the classroom might extend into the following week, which is the About Me week, but we'll use those materials for the activities that we'll be trying to do. So while I'm doing all this, and while we're getting into that About Me week, and we're really learning about each other, and I try to say every child's name over and over and over and over, and especially in whole group. I sing name songs, things like that, so they get to know who each other are. We do a little About Me bag where they stand up and they bring 3 things in the bag, and we talk about, this is so and so. You want to show us your 3 things you brought, and it'll be like maybe a purple crayon. My favorite color is purple. And they pull out a little dragon stuffy. My favorite animal is a dragon or a unicorn. And they show a picture of their family or their dog. This is my dog Trixie, or this is my family. I have a new brother. And so we're learning more things about them. And all those things we're learning is going to help us with that relationship building part, which is great. So we are relationship building, we are learning and reinforcing classroom routines and procedures, we are reinforcing our classroom rules, we're learning each other's names, we're learning how to use classroom materials, we're practicing how to go to free choice centers and how to play and how to be a friend, how to share, how to keep our hands to ourselves, which is ongoing. They're not going to have that in the first 2 weeks. I'm going to be talking to them about that stuff The following year, I mean, it's ongoing, you guys. Don't try to build Rome in a day. We are going to work in small groups, and I'll try to mix the kids up a lot so they get to spend some time with every child in the class in a small group setting with the teacher. We're building our circle time stamina. I don't really make circle time much longer until after the first month, and I can maybe extend it 2 or 3 minutes. It depends on how the kids are doing. If they're not doing well, I'll just keep it super short. Um, but while I'm doing all of this stuff, you guys, there's some informal assessing going on as well. We might play games with shapes or colors. So I'm going to learn who knows their shapes, who knows their colors already. Does anybody know the first letter of their name? We'll do a lot of activities that will kind of give me a rough idea of where they are. We'll do some things in circle time with counting, and that informal assessment is going to help me uh, plan for my following 2 weeks. So, those first 2 weeks, I am a sponge. I am taking everything in. Hopefully, you'll have a back to school night or a meet the teacher, and you'll have a chance to hear from the parents. If there are any issues, parents usually volunteer that information right off the bat. But if you're noticing some things, you might want to pull a parent aside on back to school night and say, hey, I was noticing that, Timmy really has a hard time walking up the stairs. Is there anything I need to know about? Is he afraid of the stairs? And you'll get a lot of information out of the parents that way. And those talks with parents should be ongoing as well, because you want to inform them of how their kids are doing, and they, I'm sure, want to volunteer, more information. I have had some kids that have been uh, hydrocephalic shortly after birth, so it's water on their brain, and they have to have shunts put in. Um, but I'm noticing like learning lags and things like that, and it could be, oh, this was undiagnosed for a long time, so we didn't realize that all this water was building up, all this pressure, and or we didn't realize that they had a malformation of their knees until later, things like that. I mean, you'll start to find things out. The more inquisitive you are, the better that's going to be. And don't be afraid. Think about how you phrase things. Be very sensitive, loving, kind, understanding. Um, but you've got to ask the questions sometimes, because sometimes parents aren't going to be forthcoming. Um, but gosh, if it was 10 things, I'd go relationship building is the first thing, and relationship building is the last thing that you need to really, really, really focus on those first 2 weeks, because that is what's going to get you far. And you also have to know that with most classes, there is a little bit of a honeymoon period where the kids are excited. School is new. It's so great. They want to make a good impression on you just as much as you want to make a good impression on them. But that honeymoon period ends eventually, and you'll start to see um, their real personalities come out, and some of them will test your patience and will, try behaviors out on you that they might get fabulous results with at home, such as whining or crying or throwing a tantrum. And if you are starting to build a relationship with that child, you are going to be able to roll with those punches a little bit easier and figure out ways that you can, help them modify and rein in some of those more difficult behaviors as the years go on. It's not the years, the days go on. Sorry. Sometimes the days feel like years. But the most important thing, you guys, is that they just know that you care to learn about them, and that you remember things about them, and that you know about them, and that you know what their favorite color is, and that you know who their favorite superhero is, and they want to know all those things about you too, and it just brings you closer together. And the more the class knows about each other, it brings them together, and it just makes this really lovely little learning community. um, and when I talk about that honeymoon period ending and how important that relationship building is to kind of start combating, I don't even know if I want to say combating because that makes it sound like it's a battle, but you're going to see some differences in their behavior, and sometimes it will catch you off guard and you'll go, wait a minute, for the first 3 weeks, this kid was an angel. I had this wonderful boy who I love so much named Archer, who was just a perfect angel the first, gosh, I'd say month and a half of school. And then the real Archer came to school, and I was so thrown off my game that I was like, this isn't Archer. Well, yeah, it was. He was just being extra good for an extra long time. So, because I had built up this really good relationship with Archer, I knew that if I got really playful and silly with him, that that kind of broke down his defenses and made him feel closer to me. And therefore, when I asked him to clean up, he would clean up better if we had had our fun little time together and our little silliness at the beginning of the day. Or if he wasn't cleaning up, I'd be like, oh, Archer is being the best cleaner right now. He's laying down on the rug, and I'd come over and just kind of tickle him a little bit. And I'm like, do you call this cleaning, Archer? And he'd laugh, and he'd get up and he'd start helping. And then it would be, whoa, Archer really is the best cleaner in the class. Look at this. Um, you got to know what motivates these kids, and that's again where the relationship building comes into play. They might be highly motivated by praise. They might be highly motivated just by you taking a sincere, special interest in them. They might be highly motivated by helping you kind of more on a personal level. And I've done that a lot when it comes to the cleanup transition. I'll say, hey, I was noticing you are so good at finding the Legos on the floor, and Mrs. Lee is really having a hard time seeing them. Can you help me find all these? It just, you kind of start to see not how, well, I guess it is manipulating them a little bit, but it's manipulating them in a good way, because they surely learn how to manipulate me. They know I'm an old softie and I love them so, so much. That they can, if they push the right button, they can get me to do just about anything. But yeah, the more you know about them, the more that you're going to be able to see, their the little things that will get them to give you what you want from them, and that will extend itself into small group centers where you are doing some real learning and some real teaching. So it's always good to know. But it sounds like a lot, and it sounds really overwhelming, but it does all kind of work together. The biggest mistake you can make is creating like a beautiful lesson plan about apples for your first or second week of school. It's not going to work. You've really, really, really got to lower your expectations. And I know that I've said that before, but I will probably repeat that 1,000 times between now and August. Just lower your expectations, and especially of yourself, because we all want to be super teacher and the best teacher in the whole world on the first day. And you'll have your days where you are the best teacher, trust me. And then you'll have the days where you're like, whoa, I don't even know what I'm supposed to do in this situation. But yeah, so that's it for focusing on your first 2 weeks. It probably sounds a little bit similar to a video I did, I think, last week. Yeah, but it's so important. I could probably do one of these videos every day. But guys, subscribe if you like what you're getting. Leave a comment or ask me questions. I've had so many great questions and comments lately. I'm super excited to get into my classroom and show you things in my classroom that I do to make everything kind of make more sense. I'm putting together another video about lesson planning, and I think I'm going to focus it on the first week of school so you can kind of see what I do, or at least what I plan to do. I don't always get to all of it, trust me, but I think that would be really helpful for some of you. So I will get working on that this weekend. But thanks for watching.